That's cool. I appreciate that, Bill. Thanks.
No
I'm glad you're on this meeting. I'd be lost. I'd be lost.
You know you wouldn't. Go on.
I'd be lost.
Go on.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to Momentum Live. Oh, we got more people coming. This is great. We got a great crew coming in. Jay McHugh's coming in and Mark Berger. All right. We got a great crowd for you today there, Matt. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So
a bunch of disappointed, dejected people after last night's game.
Yeah. Well, you know, it could have been worse. At least it was a close game.
You know what? They made it a lot closer than I thought it was going to be.
It could be worse. You could be a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
that would be an ouch. Well, actually, the Cowboys won yesterday.
Actually, they're doing pretty good.
Just because they won yesterday doesn't mean it makes your life any better.
This is true. This is coming from a Niners.
You guys talking about the Red Sox?
Yes.
Yeah. Sure, Jay.
Go ahead, Jay.
Oh my goodness. All right, so let's get started because we got a lot of folks here, and I want to get through some stuff here. So first of all, thank you guys all for coming out, especially on this Monday after many of us stayed up late and watched the Patriots and the Brady reunion. I actually love some of the commercials. I thought they were hysterical. Brady with the crypto, and then the other one with Adele singing "Hello from the Other Side." I just thought that was really, really funny. Usually, some of these hype things get a little bit ridiculous, but I just got a kick out of it. Anyway, so this is Momentum Live, and we have a special guest with us, my good friend and fellow business associate Matt Ward. Before we get going with to hear from Matt and to hear about his new book and some of his philosophies on marketing, I know Matt may or may not know a lot of the folks in the room. So if we could, let me just see if I can get a gallery view here. If we could go around and just introduce ourselves for his benefit and for the benefit of somebody else that might not know who you are. Let's start with you, Steve Mason. Who are you and what do you do?
My name is Steve Mason. I am a commercial photographer, although you wouldn't know it from the picture behind me because that's where Bob and I live about 100 years ago, from an old postcard. I work business to business, do a lot of technology, manufacturing, corporate work. Used to do corporate events up until COVID, but that's obviously gone by the wayside. So there's a lot of manufacturing and other things, health and wellness that I spend my time and energy on. So every day is different. I do a lot of different things, but I try to help people realize their vision through visuals.
And I could let you know that Steve was our photographer at the marketing camp, and the pictures were just fantastic.
Well, so considering what I had to work with these
guys.
Right.
Hey,
that's what we call subject failure.
I only brought the lens or two on you, Steve. Sorry.
There's a lot of Photoshop going on. Dave England, can we hear from you?
Yes, you may hear from me. I'm Dave England, the co-owner of England Studio, a online, offline marketing agency. We're a small team, but we can turn on the dime. We're faster than a lot of the big marketing companies in Rhode Island because they're bloated and we can move fast. So we do Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok and Clubhouse. We help our clients gain traction on all of those platforms, as well as offline coupons, retargeting, text message marketing, anything to do with marketing. Awesome. And we are also designers, so we do everything in-house.
Yep, and they are
award-winning graphic design.
The designers of the Momentum logo. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And Dr. Ron, are you able to turn your mic on and say hello?
Hi, Bob. I am able to turn it on. I'm Ron. I'm a speaker in leadership development, career development. And I do all kinds of programs, including game show programs, which show people more about how they think. So they can be a little safer, more productive, better communicators. Thanks, Bob.
Awesome. Thank you, Ron. Jay White, are you able to speak?
I have a quick question. Is Dr. Ron becoming a ventriloquist? Because I didn't see his lips move.
Yeah, I can't see him either.
Jay, I picked that up a year ago. Where have you been?
Well, I've been around. Where the hell have you been?
Turn your camera on.
Jay White from Cartridge World. We sell ink and toner cartridges to everybody.
Yes, you do. Thanks, Jay. Hey, Josh. Hey, Josh, you going for cigars tonight?
I don't know about tonight, but last time was a lot of fun. Josh Champagne, I work for the Lawrence Agency over in Lincoln. We specialize in personal and commercial lines insurance.
Excellent. Thanks for being here, Josh. Richard Austin.
Thank you, sir. Rich Austin. Speaking of success, I provide not only public speaking coaching, but a lot of content creation. If you don't get your message out correctly, you're never going to be understood. So I work with my clients on that, and I'm also part owner of Referral Exchange Networking.
Excellent. Thanks for being here, Richard. Sal.
Thank you.
Good morning, Sal Sacco, partner at Aiken Studio. I'm Dave's muse. I'm the inspiration behind a lot of his design, and I'm happy to be that way. So
Always nice to have you here, Sal. Hey, Jay McHugh. I guess the button worked this week. How are you, Jay?
Doing great, Bob. Thanks very much for the invite once again. Jay McHugh, Layer Realty Partners with my wife. We have 700 agents, 41 offices. I teach the follow-up system, appreciation system through send out cards, and love to give, and also love to learn from all of you all-stars.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Jay. And thanks also for coming to the networking event the other night. It was great to see you in person. Mark Berger.
How's it going, everybody? It's Mark Berger from Berg's Communications. I handle public and media relations. Basically, everybody has a story to tell, and my job is to get it out to as many people as I possibly can. I'm actually also a contributing writer to the Shop in RI magazine. It's a monthly publication touting small businesses, and I'm actually working on a story for Jay White for the November issue. And the October issue will be out this week.
Awesome. Jay White, you're going to be famous.
Finally.
Fame, right?
Or infamous.
I was at the game
infamous.
last night. It was unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. I saw your video from the game. How was the weather there? Would you stay dry?
Not at all. It rained. It didn't rain. It rained a lot. You know, we had the ponchos in the car. And we said, "Nah, we're not going to need them." So of course it rained.
Famous
Yeah.
last words, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
God bless you. You're a great fan, Mark.
Yes. I thought it's 61-12 game, so I was shocked it was even that close.
Same here.
Absolutely. It was fun. It was fun to watch, though. I think the young kid really, Mac did a great job. You know, really stepping up and with a lot of pressure on him. Holy cow! You know, what a spotlight to be, facing the guy that just played for the team he plays for now for the last 20 years and won him 6 Super Bowls. It's like, holy crap. But all right, the man behind the curtain, most of you know the guy, my tech go-to guy, Bill Palmetier. Want to say hello, Bill?
Hi, everybody. Bill Parmentier, owner of W. Parmentier Media and Photography. I do everything from photography to video to drone pilot / photography and videography on that end, and Zoom facilitation. So I try to help small and medium-sized businesses to get their visuals out.
Yeah, your volume's really low, Bill. Is that because of your air conditioning?
It's probably because I lowered it when we were messing around with the air conditioner issue earlier. So
Yeah, just hear you
let
coming
me
up.
bring it.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, yeah, the volume's
All
low
right.
because I was messing with things. My fault.
All we heard was your Palmetier real estate. Is that what you do?
Yeah. How'd you know? Why'd you keep my
Making
secret
everyone-
for me, Dave?
All right, Michelle just jumped in and joined us. Michelle, you got a minute to say hello?
Hi, everybody. Wanted to give a high five to Matt Ward, good friend of mine from 10 years ago back in the day, always creative, and I always can't wait to hear what he has to say. So here promoting Fall Fest. I always love events, and this is a great live music event. I'd love to see you there. It's 2 fantastic cover bands, Steely Dan and the Doobie Brothers, and food trucks. So what more is there?
Awesome.
Bob's
I
gonna
did-
put his newsletter next.
I put it in this week's newsletter. Just went out this morning.
Oh, I didn't see it. I looked at it.
Yeah, it's in there.
Thank you.
It's in there.
Nice to see you guys.
All right, great. Thanks for coming, Michelle, always appreciate you being here. All right, so with that, everybody's had a chance to introduce himself. I don't think I forgot anybody. So with that, I want to turn the floor over to Matt Ward. I met Matt several years ago, and he followed up by sending me his book, a complimentary copy of his book, and I read it, and instantly I knew this guy and I were on the exact same page. Yep, there it is. Just this whole concept of giving and just following up and doing all the right things that also Jay McHugh is a good friend of mine, also does on a, he actually executes that stuff, and execution of course is always the problem. But Matt's got a new book coming out. I promoted it in my newsletter this morning, and I'm going to turn it over to him. He's going to tell you a little bit more about himself for those of you who don't know him, and then fill us with wisdom, Matt. So you have the floor, my friend.
Well, I will do my best. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to getting the recording out there on the Facebook non-live stream. That'll be amazing. So Bob and I are cut from the same cloth, as Michelle and I are as well. Michelle, I think we had to be close to 15 years ago in our days of Constant Contact, the email marketing world. And for those of you that don't know, I owned a digital marketing agency for over 16 years, sold it for 7 figures back in 2018 to one of my employees who I met in a networking group. And so when people tell you that they're not making any money from a networking group, it's because they're not doing it right. Bottom line, anytime someone leaves a networking group of any organization, doesn't matter what organization it's affiliated with, I always ask them, why are they leaving? And they say, well, I'm not getting referrals. And I say, whose fault is that? Well, they're not giving me referrals. And whose fault is that? Because they're talking about the wrong things to the wrong people. They're asking for the wrong things, and they're not serving everyone enough, which is the bottom line. And so what Bob referenced was the book I wrote 3 years ago called More Word of Mouth Referrals, Lifelong Customers and Raving Fans. And it's really 45 different tips on how you can stay in touch with other people. And as I started my professional speaking career back in 2018, it was going bonkers. In 2019, I did 35 gigs all across the country. And then we had this thing called COVID happen, and just literally imploded all these live events and conferences that I was going to. And as I sat down during COVID, I, like every other professional speaker, wrote a new book. But what I did was I interviewed 50 small business owners and unpacked what the problems that they were having that I also had in my digital marketing agency before I started my professional speaking career. And the speech that I was giving with the More Word of Mouth Referrals always ended on this idea that regardless of who's sending us referrals, regardless of who we're building relationships with, the one common theme should be that we build relationships with people that make us happy, that bring us joy. And too often, small business owners struggle with that because they chase the money, not the fit. And that's a huge issue. It's why the SBA numbers are so high in the first 5 years of failure, is because people are making bad decisions when it comes to the type of clients that they bring on. And then they get stuck sometimes, in some cases, depending on the business, holding the bag of the money that never came in because somebody didn't pay their bill. They were unhappy. They're stealing more time. They're taking too much space in their head. It's all these things that happen as small business owners. And I have always believed that small business owners left the corporate world and started their own small business because they wanted 3 things: more money, more time, and more freedom. Yet in the first 5 years, they get none of those things. Why? Because they're chasing that money to get to a level of sustainability whereby they can actually feel comfortable pushing away bad fit clients. And that is what this book is all about. So I wrote this book, The High Five Effect: How to Do Business with People Who Bring You Joy. And it reinvigorates the small business owners and the ideas in which they go about. The funny thing I found in interviewing all these people was that there was a common thread. The common thread was they weren't trusting their gut. They were seeing red flags with these clients and they just weren't trusting it. And the reason why is because they had to find a way to bring in money. So in the book, I break down, you know, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Well, I created the business owners, the client acquisitions hierarchy of needs. And the very first level of that is survival, right? That you have to survive as a business owner. And so you do everything you can. You work late nights, you work weekends, you take on projects you should never take on. You take on clients you should never take on. You take it on for the price you shouldn't take it on. And then you get to the next level, which is security. And it's at that level where we start to think, okay, maybe this business could actually work. But the idea is that we actually only push away these bad clients when we get to a level of predictable income every month. That's when we're really willing to take the risk and say no to this client. And so at each level of this hierarchy of needs, I share in the book the ways in which people can move out of that stage and into the next stage, right? And ultimately, we're trying to build a business with people who bring us joy, who make us laugh, and hence the high five effect, right? The figurative high five these days with COVID, but prior to that, it was like a physical high five. It's like the type of people you see in networking events that you always go up to and you say hello to, not because you know they're going to give you a referral or not because you have a referral for them, but because they actually make you happy. And that's what's missing, I think, a lot in small business. Now, what comes with that ultimately is you'll generate more income, more revenue, and as such, more money. And then you'll start to protect your time. You start to respect others. Once you start to get the respect in your industry, and you'll start to respect yourself even more, that's how you gain more time. And then eventually you gain more freedom. Now, how many of you have sometime in the last 12 months, just a quick show of hands, taken a completely 4-day vacation where you were totally unplugged? Just raise your hand. No digital, no digital. You didn't touch your phone for 4 days at a minimum. I'm the only person with my hand up. So that's what I just did. I just got back from an epic Grand Canyon trip where 8 of my friends plus 4 other people we didn't know went to the Grand Canyon riding side-by-side ATVs. Now, if you know me, you happen to know that that's my passion. I own multiple side-by-side ATV dune buggy-like cars that I ride through the woods of New England and actually all over the country. And this was an outfit that I organized this trip and put it out to all my friends. Funny enough, there were 9 of us in our group. Not one of us knew all other 8 people.
Matt,
but now we do.
As photographers, that's the point where we say, one step back, just a little back a little further.
Just one last,
4 of our crew slept 7 feet from the north rim of the Grand Canyon last Friday night. I was not one of them. I slept 200 feet. Thank you very much. So here's the thing. When we went on this trip, when I booked this in February, when I tried to get people to go with me, most of the people were either high-level executives and or business owners. And do you know how many business owners I approached and said, hey, come on this trip with me? And they said, I can't be away from my phone for 4 days. Where is the freedom in that? When you're tied to and held to your business, so much so that you literally can't put your phone down for 4 days. Now, when we checked in Utah, on Wednesday afternoon, about 4 o'clock, they took our phones and put them in a box. And then they gave them back to us on Saturday night. The goal of the organization is to get time to stand still so that you're not thinking about everything that's going on your phone. I don't even wear a watch anymore. I use my phone for my clock. So I turn over in the middle of the night. I look at what time I woke up. I put it back down. We know that's not healthy. And from a business owner standpoint, it's definitely not healthy. And so what I wrote about in this book was about achieving a level of business owner's life that gets you to the point where you're not constrained by your business, that you love your business as much as your business loves you. And you can take digital detox trips completely unplugged with full freedom every single year. That's what this book is all about. Some of you have been lucky enough to read the book by Mike McAllowitz, Profit First, I imagine, and many of his other books, Pumpkin Plan, things like that. Mike actually endorsed this book, and he says the essence of a joyful business is working with the right clients who bring you joy. Matt's book shows you exactly how to do that. And small business influencer Ramon Ray of Smart Hustle said there are a lot of business books on tactics of business success. Matt's book gives you that and more. He speaks from the heart about how to have joy in growing your business. Matt's a guy who brings joy to those around him and will help you bring joy and a smile to you as you run your business. And there's many other endorsements in this book. The reality is that we run this grind, and many of us who are solopreneurs, we might have a small staff, but if we're a solopreneur, we're alone and we're struggling. We think we have these problems that no one else has. And when I interviewed these 50 small business owners, I started to realize, yeah, everybody's got the same problems. The problem is we don't tell other people we have the same problems. And so when we get into mastermind groups, thought leadership groups, peer advisory groups, even networking organizations where we build relationships with other people, we can lean on each other to grow our business in a more effective way. That's what this book is all about. This book is about giving you back your business in a way that you've never believed it would be possible. And that's why I wrote it. You know, there's a bunch of stuff in here about the business owner's evolution of joy, right? And to me, joy is different. I live my life by the definition of freedom, doing what I want, when I want, where I want, and how I want. I don't care about the money. I have a certain fee I charge for consulting, coaching, and for speaking. And I've had people offer me more than that fee if, for me, it means I will set a weekly appointment with them, say Mondays at 2 p.m. I literally had someone offer me double what I charge for a 2 p.m. every Monday call. My answer was no, thanks. Because to me, my calendar is the most important thing. I don't want to have that meeting booked the entire year out. It monopolizes my head and makes my business less joyful to me. Because the most important thing to me is my calendar and my freedom of choice to go to this networking event when I want to, or to take a flight this weekend and go somewhere. I happen to own property in Fort Myers, Florida. I love to go to my house in Florida. I like to go to the beach. I like to get on the boat. I'd like to take my ATV out. And so if I don't have appointments, that's what I like to do. And so I don't need to be rich. To me, rich is just, it's a different definition for everybody. But when you come from nothing and you grow up very, very poor, what I've got now is rich. And so for me, it's about freedom, right? It's about not being locked down. When I had my digital agency with 8 employees, there were days that were super tough, right? And Michelle, you guys, many of you probably don't know the inner workings, but when we were working with Constant Contact, Michelle and I, we'd sell an account, it's like $15 and we got like 20% of $15 a month. So you're making like $3 if you were lucky. Then they changed the commission structure and we got half of that. And then you go and you do these presentations and somebody raises their hand and says, I'll take an account. And you're like, yeah, I made $3. $3. Who does that?
Time. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's right. It's a marathon, not a sprint, right? And so we were constantly chasing the next client. Even with 8 employees, I was always chasing the next sale. And for me, it wasn't about sales, it was about relationships. So I started doing all the networking and all of those things. And that's how I built out my network. And that's how I was able to get to a point of sustainability in that business, to the point where I was able to sell it for 7 figures. And it's just one of those things that when I left, I realized I didn't want the rat race anymore. I wanted to slow down and stop time and like love my business as much as it loves me. And that's what this book is all about. So I think that you should start planning your 2022 5-day digital detox. You should start to think about who can respond to your emails. you can start to think about your out of office response that is stern enough that says, I literally won't have access to email over the next 5 days. If it's an emergency, you can call this person who has a satellite phone that can reach me. Right. But there better only be a death in the family in order for that to happen. Right. So like, and that was, I think the key is when somebody else forced our hand, right? Yeah, they had a satellite phone. Yeah, that we could call out if there was an emergency and they could call in if they're, we could have people call in. But when someone else forces your hand that you have to abide by their rules, then it's okay. But as small business owners, when we're the decision makers, we don't set our own rules in place like that. And then we let people creep in. It's weekends, it's nights, it's 5-6 calls a day, right? We got to start thinking about what joy means to us and who we surround ourselves with, right? I've known a couple of you for quite a few years. I know you surround yourself constantly with the same people. I see the advertising for marketing camp. I see the same people. I see Uncle Jay and Bob on a lot of calls, right? I see the relationship there. I see Albert showing up at all these events where I don't really see the other financial advisors showing up. I see the relationships there, right? Those are joyful relationships. And no, you're not passing business every day. You don't have to. But what you know is that when someone calls and says, I need a photographer, you got at least 2 on this call right now that you can get involved. And that's not about, did they give me a referral? That's not about, did they show up this week? That really is about, are they cool people? And I said in my first book that people always believe that they do business with who they know, like, and trust. And I rewrote that definition here, that people do business with who they know, like, trust, and care about. That is how you get to the high five effect. That's how you get to doing business with people that bring you joy. So I just wanted to give you a foundation understanding of what the high five effect really is all about. And for you, joy could be defined as something else, right? For me, it's a lot of travel. I don't have kids of my own, so I'm not tied to the house, to raising those kids or to going to all those school events. Maybe that's your joy. Maybe your joy is different than mine, and that's okay. Build your business around your joy, what brings you happy, and the people that bring you happy, the people that are in that sphere, whether they do business with you or not. That's how you build a successful, sustainable, long-lasting small business. Now, literally, what you all need to do is walk around your town, walk at every networking event you go to now, and just start high-fiving people. They won't have any idea what you're doing, but you will. And I guarantee you, if you put up a hand to high-five somebody, they will high-five you back. So as I always like to say at the end of every video, don't forget to live happy, smile a lot, and high-five everyone around you. All right, high five. Let's go. There you go.
Matt, I love your message, man. And I think, some of the examples that you gave, like I pretty much like hang out with these people that are on this call today, so we've seen each other at, whether it was the marketing camp or at networking events or, a variety of different places. And everybody on this call who knows me, and they all do, know that I truly believe this message. I would just rather hang out with people that I enjoy being with than anything else. And it doesn't necessarily, like Matt said, and I love that part of your message too, it doesn't necessarily translate into an immediate gain, an immediate referral. And I remember, and some of you on this call will remember, that we had a networking event a few months ago, and there was this guy. He was the guy with the trophies. Everybody remember the guy with the trophies? And he sent me a message like the next day, and it was his very first networking event. And he was like, I didn't get any referrals. Yeah. So I was like, I was very patient with him, Matt. You'd be proud of me. We had a long conversation, and I just had to reemphasize to him, dude, we're in it for the long game. There's a lot of good people that you met that I brought over to introduce you to. I said, these are people that are going to have nonprofit events and networking events and that can utilize your service. But man, it's like planting seeds. It's like Ivan Meisner said, it's more about farming than it is about hunting, and you've got to be a nurturing person, and it'll come with time, but you have to give it that time. You can't go in there with the scorecard.
Well,
and
that's the
say,
problem. Everybody's keeping score too often. And
Right.
I do firmly believe that we need to keep track, not score. Right. So you need to know where your referrals are coming from. You also need to know a sense of how much referrals you're getting from the different groups and organizations you go to, whether it's the chamber or BNI or AMP Spirit or anything like that. You need to figure all of that out and know those numbers, because I get calls all the time. Hey, I'm leaving this networking group. I'm like, okay, but I literally know you got the largest referral of your life, like $100,000 contract. You got that, and you got a commission on that, and it came through this group. So why are you leaving?
Yeah, tell me again.
But what happens is we're an instant fast food society. We want results quickly. And so we have to recondition our brain that these things take time. And it's a challenge because you still have to make sales. And that's what pulls at the heartstrings when you start to build this business. That's what the trophy guy was going through, is in the very first stage of that survival mode that I put in the book. He's got to eat. He's got to pay his bills. And if it's not him who's putting the pressure on himself, it's his boss, because he works for someone. Right. And so that's a very common problem in the world of networking and referrals, is the folks who aren't self-employed will often have numbers to meet. And so those numbers show through in the relationships that they're building, and that hurts them more than helps them. That's why if we can shift into this idea of actually pushing the joy piece first, then we know that things will come.
It's funny you say that they have to answer to their boss, but if you're serious about success and you're self-employed, you're the worst boss that you ever had.
Yeah, that's true. Dave,
I'd like to,
Dave's got a question.
Yeah, I want to open it up now to some questions, guys. Who's got a question for Matt?
I think Dave was first. Dave.
Hey, Matt. That's great. Great listening to you this morning. This is really good. And I got two things. One thing is I've tried to have a digital free weekend, and it is really impossible. But anyway, it'll happen. It's just gotta eventually. But you said you rewrote the phrase "know, like, and trust," and you've added "know, like, and trust" in people who care about you. What's the difference between the like part and the care about part?
Not much, but what I have found over time is that if you care about other people, they'll start to care about you. Liking you is different than caring about you, right? Liking you is your personality. Caring about you is your success. So I believe that there are people who will like you, but not necessarily care about your success, right? They care about their own success, but they like you. They're happy to have a drink with you or network or chat with you, but they might not refer you a ton, right? But if you care about the success of others, that shows up in a different way than liking them, right? Because you can also care about the success of somebody but not really like them. Like they're kind of annoying, or they call you a lot, they take a lot of your time, but you still want to help them be successful. So that's caring about them but not necessarily liking them, right? And so when you mix all four of those together, I think the caring part is the part that's been missing for such a long time, because it was defined as know, like, and trust. And I believed that for many, many years. But when you go to the next level with that, you really go deep. That's the caring part. And, many of the people, when I had my agency, many of the people that were referring us, I cared deeply about their success. I liked them. I had a lot of trust with them. certainly knew them. And they never did business with our agency because I built great relationships with them, and they were IT companies. So the IT companies would refer us even if they didn't have us do their website. So that was a very common thing. It was just about caring about their success, making sure that my clients were using them, and just knowing where they were going, what their goals are, and digging deep on that. That's the caring part. Yeah.
Excellent answer. I love that.
Good.
I hadn't really thought that through, but I'm really glad you asked that question, Dave, because you think just on the surface, you think they're the same, but they are totally different.
I think
Yeah.
Jay had a question. Jay's next on the hands up.
Yeah, Jay, you're up. Thanks, Bill.
Great job, Matt. I'm a guy of action, and just got your link, and I just bought your book.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
All right.
Looking forward to it. Echoing Dave, I have a saying, people do business with people they like, trust, know, have a relationship, and now I'm going to add and care about. And I think that, as you said, roots, deeper plants that will help spawn those better referrals.
Yeah,
because,
especially in the real estate world.
yeah, absolutely. Because you and I can like, trust, and know each other, but if you have the relationship, I don't get the business. But they still know, trust, and like us.
Yeah.
So the relationship is important, but I like the seasoning of adding. You care about them.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I think philosophically what we're talking about here is an essential difference between, especially from a networking perspective, wanting to get something, to get work, obviously, and wanting to give something, to go there and try to help people or to try to put people together who can help each other. And if you go to get something, you'll always be disappointed because network is rarely going to give that to you. But if you go to see if you can help somebody, if you can put people together, get them to talk, then it's just more rewarding and also in some ways easier because there are those opportunities that are sprinkled about. But to get work, it's just too hard at those kind of events. It's just not worth it.
Well,
I mean,
and
it may lead to work. That's okay.
Yeah. And I always like to say that the word networking has the word work right in the middle of it. Like, this isn't easy, and it doesn't come easy. It's hard for a lot of people to put all this stuff together. As I like to tell some of my clients, it's simple, but it's not easy, right? Simple to understand what you need to do to make this stuff work. But it's not easy. When you talk about this caring component that I wrote about in my first book, that's really what led me to the high five effect, right? Because I'm not so sure you're going to high five people you don't really care about. Like, the high five is like an emotional interaction, right? And so there has to be something there, something joyous to be celebrating, I think. And sometimes it's just the day. We're out, we're networking, we're in this environment, we're at a conference. Hey, let's high five, right? Sometimes it's as basic as that. But when you get that caring component in between people, I mean, I know what's going to happen at the next networking event with the 4 or 5 of you are in the same room. I better get the videos from it because I know it's going to happen.
As well.
I think,
Michelle, you have a question?
I just want to jump in. I want to applaud you, Matt, for bringing up several times while you were talking, you brought up the word joy. And I think, we all are self-employed because we want to do something that we love, but there are days that are a grind. So to do something so simple as a high five that brings you joy, brings someone else joy, that is, those simple things really make every day matter. And, I just applaud you for giving that your focus and attention.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
It looks like
Dr. Ron has his hands up.
Okay.
Thank you for noticing, Bill. Have a question.
Whoops. Sorry. I actually just muted you accidentally. I was trying to lower your hand and I hit the wrong button. Sorry, Dr. Ron.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Tech guy screwed up. Sorry.
Okay, thanks. Question for you, and this is not me, but I would like to know what advice I might give somebody else if they come in with the scenario that you suggested before. That is, they're working for somebody, let's say, on a quota system. First day on the job, come to a networking event. We're talking about building relationships for 3 years out, 5 years out. All that manager cares about is next week. What advice do you give them? How should they behave? What should they do?
I would recommend you refer them to me for some networking coaching. But what I typically tell these people is do what your boss tells you to do for 2 years, and then do what I tell you to do on nights and weekends for 2 years. And you'll never have to do what your boss tells you to do ever again. It's that simple. The problem is they do have to report to this person. So they do need to achieve certain steps and goals because those people are paying their salary. Totally respect that fact. Completely respect that. But if we're going to get away from this cold calling mentality or the sales pitch mentality or the, as I call it on LinkedIn, the pitch slap mentality, then we need to move into a networking world. And you can't just start today and get referrals. There's a couple things you can do to jumpstart them, but it takes time. I typically tell people what you do today pays off in 6 months. So the one-to-ones you're doing today, the repetition stuff, the emailing, the reach outs and all those things, that's all going to pay off in 6 months. And so, you know, those are the conversation points that you have to talk about, but also too, remember that they have a bigger force bearing down on them than us. And so just advising them that going after the sale initially is actually going to do them more harm than good is the best approach I think you can take in that scenario.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess the stereotypical case of this would be the life insurance salesperson who's only going to be in there for until they sell policies to their families, or the car salesperson.
Yeah. So that's interesting because I use the car salesperson in my keynote as an example. And certainly, you know, sadly, New York life has a history of people coming out, doing networking events and then saying, hey, can I get a one-to-one? One of my clients says, sure, after you've been there 6 years, right? Now, here's the thing. This is the big component change, the mindset shift. If you care about networking and you care about how we do it, then we have a responsibility to care about the people that come into these groups so that they don't ruin our groups. And so we need to care enough about that person to educate them. There's the caring component there. Now, what will happen when we educate them is one of two things. Either A, they will come back and start to align more with the way we think, or B, they will not come back, which we're okay with both responses because we don't want them in the group if they're trying to sell us their stuff or trying to access our quote unquote contact database, our Rolodex. And B, we're okay if they have shown vulnerability to say, yeah, I probably don't know what I'm doing. So I will learn from the experts about this. And I'll do networking right. And then I'll do cold calling over here right. And that's okay too, right? So care enough to train them and teach them, and they'll see that you're wise in your ways and you've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, I love that advice, Matt. It's also similar to the advice that we sometimes give in my work with SCORE. We advise people who are thinking about starting a business. We say it's best to start a business while you're working for somebody else. So having one foot in each camp is a good way to kind of build something and get off the ground. So it's very similar to what you said is keep doing what you have to do, what your boss tells you to do, but also look at building those relationships with the other foot. And really, really well said. Thank you.
100%.
Mark Berger, you have a question.
Excuse me. Yes, I do. So I'm considered a serial networker. So I go to a lot of events over the course of a month, and I know what works for me and what doesn't work for me, but I'm also part of several other networking groups, and I'm charged with trying to get people to network more and bring more visitors to their respective groups. So do you have any general advice that I could give to them, for people that don't network a whole lot or will give me a lot of blowback as far as it's too difficult, it's too hard, my schedule doesn't allow it, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I know that there are plenty of events that happen in the morning before work, at lunchtime, because people have to have lunch, or, after hours if they just want to drink before they go home.
So first answer to the question that you didn't ask, yes, I'm available to speak to those groups. Second question answer is, here's the deal.
That was good.
No one will ever do this as much as we do. We are a core like we are hardcore networkers, right? This is what we do. And so oftentimes I find myself even getting frustrated with people that don't show up on time. They don't show up consistently. I do videos every single week. They come out on YouTube and they come out through my email list, and they're just informative videos. They run 3 to 5 minutes, just networking tip. And it's always like show up, have your camera on, like communicate in the chat, all these basic things that build trust, the know, like, trust, and care about factor. It takes a long time for some people to just really understand all of these things. And they need to see results from things that you've advised them of in order for them to continue to take the advisement of doing it more. And that's hard because they either aren't tracking their results or not tracking where the results are coming from. Almost everybody believes that their referrals come from their clients. And that is not true. It comes from their centers of influence. It comes from their spheres. It does not come from clients. Clients refer 1 to 3 people over a lifetime, but partners, referral sources refer 1 to 3 people a year, right? But everybody focuses on the client because that's what they remember is the one person that sent them some business. There's very few industries with that is an exception to. Solar is one of them. Solar panel, solar energy is because they pay for the referrals from the consumer who just put the solar panels on their house, right? It's a much different philosophy, but in all the service-based business work we do, it comes from the centers of influence. And so really the best way to really get people to realize this is it just make sure, dial them in and try and get them to do as many one-to-ones as possible. I tell my clients who I'm coaching that you should be doing 15, 30-minute one-to-ones every single week. Now, that's hard to sustain. It's hard to keep going. It's frustrating because you do a 30-minute call and then you're like, okay, well, I kind of that, I didn't get anything out of that. Well, that's the short-term thinking. And so we always have to push that aside, right? Keith Ferrazzi wrote in this book, this orange book that's behind me, Never Eat Alone. By the way, you notice I bought like 20 of those books. I give them away as copies, right? So just when you hit that link later on, the highfiveeffect.com or highfiveeffect.com, you'll see there's an option there for buy 10, get 10 free. Just saying. Anyway, so here's the deal. He wrote in that book about to give without the expectation of getting anything in return. That's what that book taught me. Now, you look at me, you're like, yeah, you've never been eaten alone because I eat all the time, right? Usually bacon. But here's the thing. It's not abnormal to think, when's my turn? That's a very common thought. What I try to get people to do is just push it aside and not act on it. That's all. That thought comes to me. I network. Oh, but when's my turn? Right? And I'm just like, okay, don't act on that. Don't say that. Don't act on that. And I tell my clients that all the time. And so everybody's going to be different, Mark, when it comes to getting them to do the more activity that's the ideal thing that you want them to do. And so each person's different and their personality is different. You have to tap into what they like doing more than what you want them to do. Right? Go for the joy effect. What's going to help bring them joy in their mind? And get them to give you the idea, Mark, even though it's your idea. Let's just say visitors was the thing. Hey, we'd love 10 visitors next week at this Monday Momentum. Okay, great. And what Bob's going to do is start talking to you guys and say, hey, how can we make this better? Mark's going to go, more visitors. Hey, great idea. I was going to say that in about 5 minutes, but it's now your idea, because when it's your idea, you own it. So, and I'm not talking about manipulation here. I'm just talking about having a conversation whereby they admit what it is they're willing to do, and then you just hold them accountable for that. That's the key.
That's some really good stuff there, Matt. I love how you dive deeper into the psychology, because you're absolutely right. There's an inner conflict, even in all of us here who all get the whole networking thing. Every once in a while, there's that little voice. What about me? Right? And it's gonna pop in. So that's I think it's freaking brilliant. I can't wait to buy the book. We're getting towards the end here, but a couple of things. Number one, Dave made a comment, and we just heard somebody speak recently, a little bit edgy and kind of a different message. And I can tell you, it's so refreshing to hear your message, because I think this is the message that resonates with me personally, resonates with Dave and a lot of other folks who are on this call. So thank you very much for being here and for sharing your philosophy and information about your book. By the way, everybody, not only should you buy the book, but you should subscribe to Matt's YouTube channel. I haven't seen them all because there's so freaking many, but there is such great quality, Matt, that you're putting up on YouTube.
Thank you.
And they're short.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't take like 2 minutes. You know what I mean? So piece of cake, great way to get more information from Matt is to order his book and to jump on that YouTube and get a little bits of knowledge over the course of your day.
Yeah,
So-
and Bob, you can subscribe on YouTube, but if you get the book, you're going to end up on my email list, which is going to give you the video every Tuesday at
cool.
2
Even
p.m.
better.
Eastern time.
Even better.
And just to answer Michelle's question, if you get the book on the pre-sale, it's hardcover only off my website. It will be an autographed copy. Absolutely.
Ooh.
It is done.
All right. Now I got to do it for sure.
You did see it. I was going to bring that up, but you saw it.
Well done, Matt. Well done. High
Well
quality.
done. Well done.
And there might be just saying there might be a few little extra bonuses things thrown in surprise packages for those that order on the pre-order.
It's
Just
always
saying,
nice to
because
have surprises.
one of the things in my book on how to get referrals is to surprise people with an unexpected gift at an unexpected time.
And Bob,
Just
what do they
saying.
call that?
A lanier. Yeah, in New Orleans is a lanier, that little delightful surprise that you weren't expecting when they give you that free dessert or something along those lines. And so that's actually I recently did my talk at the marketing camp for those who were there, where it was about gratitude and expressing gratitude. And one of the best ways to do that is don't tell people you're going to send them a thank you card. Send them the freaking card. Don't that way they're it's a delightful surprise when it arrives in their mailbox, and that's the beauty of it. So yeah, 100%. 100% with you. All right, we need to start wrapping up here because we're almost at the timeline. So before we do, I did want to, in addition to thanking Matt again, I want to bring up a couple of quick things. So next week is the holiday, Columbus Day, so there will be no Momentum Live. And then after the 11th, starting the 18th, we're going to do a series of emerging trends for 2022. And our guest on the 18th will be Alan Langer, who will discuss his emerging trend. And then on the 25th will be Betty. And then a lot of the folks who presented their emerging trends as part of the marketing camp will be our guests here to kind of dive a little bit deeper about what they think to expect in 2022. And so that's going to take us really from mid-October till the end of the year with everybody's thoughts on their emerging trends. And then we'll try to come back with a whole new schedule for 2022. As far as networking events, there is a cigar event tonight at the White Ash in Pawtucket, which I hope to see Bill for sure. I don't know about Josh. And Josh is wanting to take me on in chess again.
Sal looks like he's going to be there.
Sal, you going? All right.
Yeah,
Sal's
come
going.
up. All right.
I'm gonna
All
need
right.
a little more practice there, Bob, before we go again.
That's okay. I'll continue getting beat for you, Josh. No worries.
Yeah. So that's going to be a fun event. If you can't make the cigar event tonight and you like cigars, then Uncle Jay and Sal having another one on October 27th. So that'll be down in East Greenwich at the Regency. Also, my most important thing that I would really like you guys to write this down, share the information, and come if you can, is on November 10th. I'm sponsoring a Toys for Tots networking event at the Ravenous Brewing Company in Cumberland, Rhode Island. I'm doing that with Chris Sanford. Most of you know that I'm a former Air Force guy. Chris is my former Navy guy, and we're doing something on the eve of Veterans Day. And of course, the Marines have always been a longtime supporter of Toys for Tots. So we're making this a combination networking, tribute to the military, grab some toys for the kids, and just have fun. and drink beer too. So, because we're at a brewing place, and there it is. Look at that. Dave was kind enough to make me a graphic, which I threw up on social media and also in my newsletter, which just went out earlier today. So I would love it if you guys could support that and also spread the word about it as we go forward. Any final comments? All right, one last thing we got to do before we go. Ready? Here we go. High five, Matt. Yay!
Don't forget to live happy, smile a lot, and high five.
You
Thanks,
got it.
everybody.
Around you.
Thanks again, Matt.
So much.
Have a good day, man. Enjoy Monday, guys.
Happy Monday. Hey,